Over the last 2 weeks, we shared the devastating event of our beautiful Leopard 50 bursting into flames, the legal and emotional challenges we're dealing with from the other side of the world. In this week's episode, we give you an update on the progress, and we share the life-saving info about fire protection and fire prevention that every yachtie needs to know. Hello everyone, this is Ellie and John from the Barefoot Doctors Sailing, and we are going to give you an update of what's been happening 2 weeks in after the fire tragically took our boat.
Yeah, so it's exactly 2 weeks now since the fire destroyed our Leopard 50, and hopefully you guys will have already seen that footage. And where are we now? So a week ago the boat had just been pulled up out the water. It took them a week to get to that point. Since that time we are working through a variety of other issues.
It's been sealed though.
Yeah, so the boat has been shrink wrap sealed to prevent rain and seepage of the chemicals from the boat out into the waterways. Probably the best news from our direct perspective is that the insurance company is now paying all the bills. Yeah, so that's obviously taken a big weight off our shoulders. A couple of days after the fire, the insurance company started negotiating through the assessor who is on site in the US directly with the salvage company, and so that then meant that I had to pay the $29,000 and they had expected me to pay the rest of the $75,000. The insurance company took that responsibility over, so that was good. I had no more aggravation from the salvage guys.
Can I just put in a word for the salvage guys? I mean, the reason that these guys behave the way they do in a lot of instances is because they're the ones that get called onto the scene. They have to remove the wrecks or get them out of the way to minimize damage and things like that. And in a lot of cases, these guys get the short end of the stick. They don't get paid, or they don't get paid everything they should, and things like that.
Or the payment is delayed by months and months, as the insurance companies are arguing about it, and they obviously have to pay wages up front.
We just want to let people know that the reason they behave the way they do
is because
they
have
have been on the blunt end of the sharp end of the stick in the past in a lot of these situations. So we get that, we understand.
And so once they had the guarantee from the insurers that the insurers were going to pay them in a timely manner, then they got off our backs. If you have a good insurance company that is upfront and there to step in, then you won't get that kind of aggravation.
So in relation to the other guys on the 45, their insurance, they're doing fine. Their insurance company has responded quite quickly, probably because it's US based and they're in US too, so they've been able to get sorted a lot quicker. So they're doing fine as far as we know. And,
in terms of insurance payouts.
Yeah,
and all that.
Okay, so we'll keep in touch with them just to see how they're doing.
Yeah. So the other big thing about this whole event is how interesting or stressful or emotional it is. I mean, obviously you all saw us really at the worst point in the first video, and then we were beginning to come out of it a week later. But this whole emotional impact of a bereavement process, which is just what this is. We all go through a bereavement if you lose something close or important in your life. We've had so much support from everybody on YouTube and in social media. We are really grateful for all that wonderful support that we've had. It just was phenomenal. So thank you all very much. There's been so many comments made that we try to respond to all of them, but there's just too many for us to make a personal response to every single one.
You're not in the first 400 or so. I'm sorry we didn't get to you, but we do read absolutely every one of them.
And we really appreciate all the positive feedback and support, love, prayers, positivity, and wise comments too. We've had so much wisdom. And JT, listener, thank you very much for your comment.
So JT reminded us on episode 18, number 18, that we said, keep the dream alive and never, never, never give up. So thank you, JT, for reminding us of our wise words. But yeah, we definitely are still on the path. We're on the road to recovery. We are very aware of the stages that you have to pass through, and I think we're passing through them quite well. Sometimes it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back, but generally we're moving forward.
Yeah, it's interesting because you do kind of go through one stage, then go go through anger, and then you get into a little turn of low mood, and then you come back up into anger, then you can go down, so it's not kind of a clear-cut passageway or pathway through that process, but you have to go through it, and you have to feel the feelings, and you have to get rid of them.
You have to own them. You have to acknowledge that you're feeling angry today, and that or you're feeling sad today, or whatever it is.
If you're aware that you're feeling angry, then you just don't allow that anger to bubble over and create fights with people close to you or around you. You're very careful not to let that anger spill out and attack other people, it's very easy to do if you're not aware of exactly where you're at emotionally.
So we're traveling through that journey quite well, I believe. We are talking about going forward ourselves, what we're going to do with our life, because at the moment we have a clear, clean slate, or a clear canvas, or whatever you say. We had a dream, we had a destination, we had a journey that we were on, and then all of a sudden it's just gone. So instead of crying over spilt milk and woe is me and this is terrible, which we had to acknowledge, yes, it was a terrible thing, and yes, we're in pain, we have the opportunity to turn it into something positive, or turn it into, well, what's the silver lining? What's something good that's going to come out of this?
Yeah, a lot of messages from you guys, and thanks very much, were saying, there's usually a silver lining in every cloud, and we absolutely agree with that. The other comments are like, in every catastrophe there is opportunity, you just have to find it. So we've been looking. I think out of this whole catastrophe, there are really, really important messages and lessons for every single person on a boat. The most obvious one is, oh my God, if you have a fire on your boat can move from being fine to being destroyed in 10 minutes, or a fire can engulf your boat so it's completely uninhabitable within 5 minutes. We would have had to have jumped off probably on minute 3 or 4, I'd say. And that also means a number of things. First of all, you need to know your fire plans on the boat. You need to know where your fire extinguishers are, and you also need to make a plan. If a fire starts, how quickly can you launch your life raft and get it away from the burning boat so it doesn't get destroyed? Because if this happens in the middle of the ocean, you do not want to be jumping off your boat without your life raft. Every boatie looks at this fire, needs to think, okay, I need to change my plan. We had no idea, I think both of us had no idea that a fire would spread that fast on a fiberglass boat. And then now that after talking to the experts, they say yes, the resin in the fiberglass burns very well once it's hot enough. So you are sitting just like a wooden boat, it's flammable. And I didn't realize it was that flammable. It changes the prevention strategies that you need, and it changes the plan that you need to make. My initial thought is you need to have somebody using the fire extinguishers, and you need a big fire extinguisher, not a pathetic little one like this.
But also, the good thing that's come out of this is that we've been able to investigate all these fire preventatives or fire suffocating mechanisms and chemicals, suppressants, thank you, that are out there, and talking to the experts and saying, well, which ones work? So the different fire extinguishers work in different ways, which we all need to understand. So John, can you explain that a little bit better?
Yeah, so I've been in discussions with some marine fire experts in this last week. I will refer to what the guy said because I want to get it right. So there's basically 3 types of fire suppressants or extinguishers. You have dry powder, you have foam, and you have CO2, and obviously you have water. Powder works by chemically suppressing the fire, but it doesn't cool the area down. It'll work by immediately putting the fire out if it's in a contained area.
But it still has heat.
That's right, it does nothing to reduce the heat. So after you've put the fire out, if there's enough heat in the material to reignite, the fire may come back. That's the one limitation with the powder. The powders also work much better in enclosed areas, because if you explode a powder or spray a powder into an area where the wind is blowing, then the wind's just going to blow the powder away, it's not going to work. If you have a CO2, it works very well because it removes the oxygen from the fire. So again, if you're in a contained area like an engine compartment or downstairs, and you let the CO2 off, then the oxygen is removed, the fire goes out. But if the wind's blowing, it's going to bring in fresh CO2 in as well. So those two are much better used in enclosed spaces. The advantage with CO2 over the powder is that some of the powders are very toxic and aggressive. Having said that, you don't mind that if it's going to save your boat, and you deal with the corrosiveness of the chemical later. If it's going to work well, you will put up with that. The advantage with foam is that foam not only kind of layers the area that's burning with the foam, so that stops the oxygen getting onto the burning material, but it also cools the area down so it's much less likely to reignite. As we can see from this fire, these fire extinguishers need to be in the right place. We've done some investigating about other boats as well, because okay, so if a fiberglass boat burns this quickly, well, let's look at aluminium and let's look at other options. And there's another option which I'd never heard of before called basalt. And thank you to all the viewers who have been mentioning these different options. The Garcia boats produce an aluminium catamaran, which is about this 52 foot or something, is a really nice one. Nice and solid, aimed to go into deeper waters and strong enough to run into icebergs and stuff like that. And obviously, because it's steel, and at the bottom of the boat is 15 mil aluminium, which is really, really strong. So if you hit a reef, it's going to bounce like a steel boat rather than break up, as fiberglass does. Basalt is non-flammable, but also harder than fiberglass. If it gets hit, it doesn't break. I also discovered that you can make your mast out of basalt, which is excellent because it takes away the risk of lightning. The main things we get scared about as yachties is fire, sinking, and lightning. So, or hitting a reef. So if you hit...
Yeah, seriously, it doesn't make sense to have this beacon beckoning lightning.
Yeah.
Way up in the air, doesn't it?
Yeah, obviously we feel sorry for ourselves because we've just lost our boat to fire, but you know, we also have met folk
so common
who have one particular couple, and you know who you are, that they have been struck by lightning on their boat 5 times in southern eastern states of the USA. So how catastrophic, like, can you imagine, like, I feel bad about having this happen once, but every time you get hit by lightning, almost all of your electrics are just incinerated. And although you have insurance, you are out there stranded. Oh my God, I want a non-conductive mast, because lightning, as I say, fire and rocks are the biggest risk to all boats. The other thing about fire suppressants is there are automatic fire suppressants, and we've done some investigating. I got sent various links by a variety of different people about possible things to put on the boat, and factories use these automatically activated powder devices where when they get to a certain temperature they release the powder and put the fire out. The ones that are fixed to the ceiling are not designed for boats because they're in a glass container and they release glass as well as the powder. The other option that's been suggested was fireballs, which are the same sort of powder encased in a ball that you can actually physically throw into a fire, and when it gets hot enough it releases the powder too. 2 things with this is, well, if you're there, use a fire extinguisher, because then you can direct the fire extinguisher at the fire itself, and it's not so random. And the other thing that concerns me about these fireballs, which was confirmed by my marine fire expert, is those fireballs and the fire even if you have the fireball in the ceiling of your engine compartment or other places, the fire needs to be so hot before they're activated that you're too late. You really need to get onto the fire earlier than that. So the automatic fire suppression systems that are offered by a lot of the marine manufacturers work on a sensor close to the engine where the fires are most likely, and if the heat there gets above a certain amount, they automatically release the powder into the whole of the engine compartment and put the fire out. All of these things we need to investigate more. So to be honest, so far I haven't got an ideal solution for everybody, because it doesn't seem to be that clear cut just yet. We will do more investigating and share it, but this is the pathways I've been going down. So if anybody out there in the sailing community knows of good fire suppressants that are automatic that you can put in the different places in your boat to manage fire, then please let me know so that we can do more investigating and we can share this with the broader community, because this is such an important issue that we have to get right if you're going to be on a boat.
Mm-hmm. So another thing we found out when talking to all these experts, fire experts, is what can people do to minimise risk now?
In their boat.
In their boat. And there are so many yachties that we know even that have in their tool shed, in their boat, they have all sorts of like a chemical cocktail there for just in case, right?
Obviously, as a cruising yachtie, especially if you've got an older boat, you're going to be doing repairs, and when you do a repair, you often need to touch up the paint. So a lot of people will be carrying with them, 2-pack paint. They'll be carrying thinners, both for the paint and for the resin. They'll be carrying resin or epoxy with the catalysts and the resin itself. Most people will do a job and keep the leftover for the next job. So they're sitting in the tool shed is acetone, paint thinners, 2-pack, and a variety of other thinners. So all of these things are actually very, very flammable.
And adding the heat of the boat, whether it's closed up or not, we all know how hot boats get.
A lot of people are not aware that 2-pack paint left sealed in a container will explode if the room temperature rises above a certain amount, and it's certainly achievable in hot climates.
Now, can I just jump in here, because I know what all of you are thinking. You're all thinking that that's what happened to our boat. Let me tell you that we didn't have any of these products on board. We didn't, so we can rule that out.
Two things that are to me the highest risk on board a boat. One is 2-pack paint, and I did used to have 2-pack paint on my old boat, but I knew it was flammable, so as soon as we finished using it, we took it off. The other thing that a lot of people are not aware of is that if you have acetone on a cloth and you've been using it to wipe something down, and you put that cloth down, that acetone in the cloth has the potential to self-ignite because of it generates heat as it's evaporating or something.
How scary is that?
And it's worse if it's in an enclosed space. So if you put your acetone cloths in a bucket or inside, it's much more likely to burn and start a fire than if you leave it ventilated and put it outside in the air or the wind. Acetone's really scary stuff, but so are all the other thinners because they're all highly volatile. So you need to be really cautious, and I would certainly recommend very strongly, if you're not actually needing it, don't take it on the boat. If you've only got a little bit of paint left in a paint pot, get rid of it and buy a new one the next time when you need it, 6 months, 12 months down the track. Obviously, most boats will have petrol for their dinghies, their outboards, if they're not got petrol engines for their boats. You've got to be really careful with the petrol that's being stored to make sure that they're closed properly and make sure the air vents are closed, and also make sure that pressure doesn't build up. So it's not in such a hot environment that the petrol expands and blows the cap off or something like that.
I know people will be wanting to know what we know about the fire to date. So is there anything new that we can share?
We've got actually quite a lot of fairly aggressive people, throwing out accusations of all sorts of types. And we are being very respectful to other people involved here. So we're not wanting to be prejudicial to anybody. So we are trying to not state anything until it's known for sure. From the information we have received and been told about, there is no evidence that the fault here was from the manufacturers. There's no evidence of that at all. We have no concerns that this is malicious, arson.
Or people were on board illegally or without our consent.
The other thing is there's been people stating it might have been lithium or it might have been a bow thruster. Well, we didn't have lithium, we don't have bow thrusters, and also, was it because the boat, you've been away from the boat, therefore you're not being being responsible looking after your boat. The boat was under professional care in that area, and it was being cared for on a very regular basis by professionals who are skilled at that work. So the boat was being exceptionally well looked after.
Up to that day.
Yeah. Now, we don't want to say anything that's going to be prejudicial to other people or even put ourselves at risk of litigation. That we've had enough threat of that already. So we are not going to make any accusations about anybody, and we're not going to say anything until the facts are agreed by the investigators. There is no fault attributable to us personally, either by anything we have done or anything we should have done. So there's no fault of omission or commission being targeted at us. Everybody's also been asking, what are we going to do from here? And we've had lots of really nice comments saying, please keep going. We really enjoyed your videos. We don't want you to stop. So that's really nice. Thank you very much. That did help us through those dark days. So we're letting you know about that we are starting to look and we are starting to think about the future. Whereas last week we're probably still drowning under the wreck of our sad blackened 50-foot hull. But we are looking forward, we are getting out of there, aren't we?
We are.
And there is hope.
There is light. Where there is light, there is hope. As you can see, we're getting our sense of humour back, day by day.
Yeah, but there are a few fire jokes happening.
There are, Our friends, it's really funny because our friends are trying to avoid saying anything to do with fire, boats and holidays even, or dreams or things like that. So they're kind of dancing around things a little bit. And then when someone happens to mention something like, well, I don't have a big boat, we go, oh, we don't have one either.
And somebody else said, it was Shag Island Yacht Club was having a meeting and we're members. And our friends said, even people who don't have a boat come to this meeting.
And we go, oh! But, we have retained our sense of humour, which is a really important thing.
Yeah. So look, everybody, thanks very much for following. There's our really important lessons to learn out of this incident. Obviously, we'd like you to subscribe and ding the dong and click the like button, because that helps the channel a lot and spreads the word. Going forward, we are going to find out more information about fire suppressant systems on boats, and we're also going to find out more specific information about insurance, because these are two of the most important things. We're also going to be looking at other options like basalt masts, boats, and aluminium boats. So those are some of the investigations we're going to be doing going forwards.
Mm-hmm. If you'd like to put some positive comments in the comment section, that'd be really great.
Actually, we live our life by a philosophy that we want to deal with positive people. We want to deal with people that are helpful and supportive. And if people are behaving in a different way, we'll just say thanks very much. But you can go your way, we'll go our way, and everybody will be happier, not in conflict.
We're not forcing anyone to watch our channel, and if you don't like it,
we're not charging anybody.
Don't just turn it off or go and watch another channel.
So yeah, we want to be surrounded by positive people, and I'm sure so do you.
So thanks for watching, guys. I hope this has been beneficial to you. I hope that you can take these pearls or these jewels out of the blackness of the hour and turn it into something positive. So I know that that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
Thanks for your support. We love you guys, and keep watching the channel, because who knows what's going to happen.
All the best, guys. See you later. Bye.
If you have liked this episode, hit the like button, subscribe for free, and ding the dong so you don't miss your fix of the next exciting episode. Love and health from the Barefoot Doctors.